So we started looking at exceptions and error handling in JavaScript. And in this video, let's talk about the try catch. Now the try catch statement will enable you to set a certain code that you need to try. And if any error happens on that, then you will handle that particular error. For example, if this was our code, the code that you want to run, you'll put it in here. And if an error occurs, control will be transferred to this catch. So if an error occurs in the try block, control goes to the catch. So you will handle that particular error in the catch section. So we'll talk about the finally also as well. Just wait. So let's say let me do an example. And let's say that I have a function. So let me write a function that squares a number. That is, if we have x times x. So function power, let's call it power num. And then it takes a variable called num. And then in here, let's just make it really fast. Return alert num times num. So this will give us the power of whichever number we put in here. So let's just run it as an example. If we say power num maybe 3. We are going to look at functions later on. So if this is a little bit confusing, just bear with me for now. So power num, if I run this, it will give us the power of 3 times 3, which is 9. The square of 3 times 3, which is 9. So let's say that we have an error here. So I can say power, and if I say just num like that, this is going to give us an error, and this is going to be an exception because we haven't declared num. So this is going to give us a reference error, and a reference error is whereby whatever you're trying to reference doesn't exist. So if I run that, you see it gives us a reference error, and this is an example of an exception. So if your code was like this, of course this is going to crash, right? This would crash the program. So in this case, you can use a try catch. You can use a try catch to put the code that you want to run in there, and then you catch the error and handle it some way. So let's do an example of that and just see how we can handle this. So you'll put the try catch, the code that you want to run, you'll put in the try section. So for instance, for this one, I can actually just put this one only in the try. So if I put this power, Control X, then I put it there, Control V, try, it will try this, and if an error occurs, it will catch that error for us. So the try catch must always have a catch section. This is not like the if else, whereby you can miss the if, you can miss the else. You can just put an if there and you don't have to put an else. With the try, you must have a catch block or a finally block. We are going to talk about the finally later on. It will try to run this, and if it can't run it, let's catch the error. So catch E, this is just a variable that will hold any errors that we have in here. Any data that comes from here will be held in here. It can be anything. It can even be error. You can call it whatever you want. But in most cases, you'll just see most people call it E because that's very fast and very easy to type. So we can say if there's an error, let's alert, Control C, Control V, let's just alert E to see what is inside of E. So you'll try this, and if it doesn't run, tell us what the error is. So let's run this and see. Run, and if we run this, you see it will tell us reference error, num is not defined. So you can see that in the first part, whereby we didn't have the try, what happened was that it just crashed. Like there was an error. There was a bunch of errors that we saw down here. That means that the error was not handled. And if a user was running this application, then there would be no way for them to know what's going on. The program would just crash. Yeah. But since now you have a try catch, you can do whatever you want with your try catch. So another thing with this one, this must be there. You must have this. They have to be there. They're not optional. For example, with an if else, you know that if this was an if, you just say if. We can even miss this if it is just a one line. You don't have to put that. And this is true for most C-based programming languages, C++, Java, PHP, JavaScript. You'll find that you can just put the if there and else. You can also have your else there, and you don't have to have the curly braces, these ones. But with the try, everything must be enclosed within this. So always remember that syntax. If you miss that, you'll get a syntax error. Also, if you miss a catch section, so this part can be a catch or a finally. So we look at the finally in the next video, just an example to see what the finally actually is. So let's continue on in the next video, and if you have any questions, let me know. You can get all the source code, all the trials in the link that is shown here. If you have any questions, make sure you let me know.